that start.
Hi, thanks.
You have the floor.
Thank you for setting it up, and thank you for doing the special city council meeting for me too. Um, in trying to look at selling this utility
That's a little,
asset,
yeah.
I couldn't wait until the next utility, I couldn't wait till the next city council meeting because everything is on 30-day increments, and I have to submit some of these findings to regulatory bodies. And if I wait till then, it puts me past the deadline. So thanks for setting this up and doing this. I appreciate it. What I'm asking for today is a previously signed resolution for an appraisal on our 230 kV line that is an asset that we're looking to sell. Um, we didn't finish the appraisal on time, and just as a formality, we need to change the dates. So the item 3 on the last page of the resolution, the appraisal shall be submitted to the city on or before May 24th is the new date. And I gave the utility committee members the new appraisal. I actually just gave them a summary sheet of the appraisal itself that came in, and I'm prepared to give that, to submit that to the city before the 24th. So it's in. I just need to have this resolution passed at the city council meeting. So that's what I'm asking everybody to do. That's my reasoning. The resolution or the appraisal itself came in at the number that we needed. So that's a positive thing. So we'll go on to the next step at looking at this as a viable thing for us to sell. It's a liability to us, and it's an asset that we are very, very much interested in selling. We have an interested buyer. The process needs federal regulatory approval, and that would take us into the first quarter of 2025 by the time we finish it. So all these things need to stay on schedule. So you've got the appraisal in front of you. That was very, very close to the number that we are selling it for. So we're happy with that.
Any questions? So the only thing that's changing from what we've already previously approved is the date. Okay. It is 6:33, and I will call the utility committee meeting to an end.
Simple enough. All right. Well, the fact the mayor's not here, I guess I'll go ahead and I will call the special council meeting. I'll change my hat for about 2 minutes here. Good evening, Kelly. You look lonely. All right, I'll call the special council meeting to order at 6:33. If we'd stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Robin, you need a roll call.
Chris Howard,
Here.
Cameron Austin,
Present.
BJ Cox,
Present.
Haley Sensmaster,
Present.
Scott Feedy, Susie Walmsley,
Present.
Dave Morris.
Present. Okay. Haley, you want to give your committee report?
Sure thing. Mr. Toth came up and gave us an update on the KV transmission line and that the date needed to be changed. And so that's the only change that we're making that we would like to make for this resolution.
I forgot to mention the mayor didn't have any comments either. All right, under new business, BJ, you want to read resolution 2024-122?
Resolution 2024-122, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, Boarding the appointment of appraisers. Mr. President, I ask for a vote on resolution 2024-122.
Second?
Any discussion? All right, call for the question.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
All right, any public comment out there? Mr. Lehman?
He's been very helpful, so aside from our attorneys from Ice Miller, Kelly's been helping us with this. In addition to this, the one thing that we'll have is Utility Service Board will get more information on this, and then I'll bring it back in front of council again as we progress. So this isn't a done deal, this is just another step in the process of seeing if this is a viable thing for us to do.
Are you gonna need any, like, input on how you might spend all this money?
Because we, because we have some ideas.
All right, thank you, guys. All right, council members, any comments at this time? Miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns. Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Call for the question?
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 6:37.
Thanks, everybody, I appreciate your patience.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll try.
All right, it is 6:37. Going to call the Planning and Economic Development Committee session. Aaron, you want to come up and present?
You didn't have that.
It's not right.
It's green. It was red. Anyway, now you can hear me though. Aren't you excited? Okay. I'm not sure what you want me to go over first, so I can just go through what I have, and then you guys can decide if that matches. The first one would be the rezone of the property of 1317 Melbourne Avenue, which is Melbourne Park. One of the things I do want to mention is that just with rezoning this does not mean that it wouldn't be a park anymore. What we did is look.
Aaron, could I ask you, can you start with your area?
Okay.
That way, we've got an agenda for Robin up.
Yep, nope, that's fine.
Go in order.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Dave, what did you ask her to go with first?
The, what's
Area
on here?
Plan Commission. Sorry.
So the MOU is regarding area plan commission for the county. This really doesn't affect the city at all. It affects how the county would operate with adding Galveston if they decide to sign off on this into the county's planning. But what we're doing is because we have an interlocal agreement with Logansport, Walton, and the county, we want to make sure that you understand that nothing's going to change and that you're okay with us moving forward to add Galveston into our county planning bucket, I guess. What that means is that they will be an area plan, so it'll still be the same amount of planning commission meetings, same amount of BZA meetings. It will just change the makeup of the board to add some Galveston people onto the county plan commission. So you would still have your all of your regulations, you still have your fringe, you still have everything that and how it operates currently today. We're just going around and getting everybody's sign off. That's part of the interlocal agreement. You have any specific questions?
Other than, you did put in there this whereas about the fringe. If you hadn't put that in there, that would have changed, correct?
Right, so this whereas that says that you'll get to keep your fringe area, which is how we operate currently.
So you're just adding some people from Galveston to be on your board to include them in your group and their area?
Yeah, so what we operate right now is an advisory plan commission, so that means every jurisdiction has their own plan commission and BZA. What we're gonna do with Galveston, since we're not adding any employees or anything, is we're gonna change the counties to an area plan commission, which means it's the county and other jurisdictions. So the only jurisdiction that's coming in at this time is Galveston. But let's say Onward would want to in the future, they would be able to come into that group as well. But it changes nothing for you and nothing for Walton. All it changes is county and how it's made up.
Okay.
Any other questions on that one? What else do you have, Robin? I'll go down your list.
Melbourne Park next.
Okay, Melbourne's next, okay. So Melbourne Park, I talked a little bit about this. It's on the surplus list, and so I looked at all the surplus list properties, and all of the other ones except for the one we just did, Patriot Park, were all zoned appropriately for the areas they were located in, Dunwoody, Heritage Park, Burkhart Park. I'm trying to remember all of them that was on the surplus, but basically, I looked at all the zoning, and this was the only one left that didn't meet, like, the zoning of the area. It's currently only zoned open space, which doesn't allow anything to actually be done with the property. So if the Parks Department would want to sell that and rehab it for housing or what have you, they would have to go through the rezone process. So instead of doing that, we're going through that process now so that if they decide to move forward, it will already be zoned as the neighborhood. So basically, we would change it from open space to medium density residential, which if you look at the map, I don't know if it's up there, but if you look at the staff report that I sent you, everything surrounding that area is medium density residential. So it's keeping with the whole intent of that neighborhood. Do you have any questions on that one?
So if we did that rezone, then, and let's say someone came in and wanted to build on that property, would the county have, or the city council have any say in what was developed there?
As long as so you still would, so the council still would have to get, because it's owned by the city, either do your own RFP or give it to redevelopment commission and do an RFP. And on that RFP, you would specify what it would be. But basically, let's just say that you're selling it, as long as it meets the regulations of the R3 district, it would be allowed to be built there. If it's zoned. I know there's some steps you have to go through to do that, but. And as you can see, there's multiple different lots there, so even if you just took one lot and wanted to redevelop it, that one lot could be redeveloped and you could keep the rest. So this is just rezoning it to meet the neighborhood. Basically, medium density residential is no more than a duplex. It's mostly single family.
No triplexes.
No triplexes are allowed in R3. Any other questions on that one? I assume you have one general. Okay.
And you need to ask if the council wants to move
Oh.
that forward.
Oh,
We
for
need
each one?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we
On
need to
both of
back
them?
up and do the Galveston one first.
Okay. Does council have any questions for the memorandum of understanding for the creation of an area plan commission, adding Galveston? Are we okay with moving this forward to council for a vote?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. And then are we okay with the Melbourne Park rezoning for future housing options if needed?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next one I have is One General Street. Is that what you guys have? Yep. Okay. So this is the Trailerburg property that the city owns. We previously had rezoned some of the property on Washington Street to R3 medium density residential. Typically in planning, what you look at is the intensity of uses and kind of scaling from those intensities up or down, depending. So you have the railroad, but you have industrial uses that are on the north side of the railroad. So we felt that it would be a good transition, instead of light industrial, which it's currently zoned, to rezone it to high-density residential, which then would be able to go into the medium-density residential and then into some single-family residential. So you have some commercial, some industrial in the area. So R4 can fit. There'd still be things that they would have to meet, like lot coverage, density, those type of things. But just so that you do know, we also have some height restrictions for the area, but R4 does allow for apartment complexes and triplexes, but it also allows for duplexes and single-family as well. So I'm not sure how that will all end up, but it is 12.52 acres. And so rezoning it to R4 kind of gives that step separation from industrial to the medium-density residential. You have questions?
Mayor and I have questions, but unfortunately, they're not for you, they're probably for Jacob.
Okay.
There's a lot of environmental issues still over there.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
I asked him about a letter that I received last November, which was basically from the former Trelleborg insurance attorneys. And as far as I know, there's been no resolution on what can be done over there with the environmental issues. And
I know they've been doing some cleanup, but I don't
yeah,
know what detail.
there's a lot of concrete sitting over there, quite honestly. It's been sitting there for months. The money that we allocated for the grant that was received, we were told that would be enough to clean that area up. All it did was get the concrete broken up. It's sitting over there in piles. And, I mean, I'm just really concerned environmentally, and at this time, I think it's premature to rezone this at all. I feel like this should just be let sit for the time being. I don't think it's suitable. Even, you know, we hopefully we would never think to put light industrial over there again, but I certainly don't want to rezone it and then the city council not have any type of control with the environmental issues that concern me at least.
Yeah, so with environmental issues, because it'd be at the state level, they wouldn't be able to do residential there until it would be cleaned up either. So, I mean, a lot of the times there's actually covenants on properties if there's environmental saying you can't do residential. So, I think on the zoning part of it, and it's totally up to you guys, the zoning part is just to tell you, it makes more sense for that zoning district than in light industrial for the use of the roads and
Well,
surrounding.
Is there any type of zoning you could put on it that restricts any type of development until the environmental issues are resolved?
Open space, so nothing can be there but a park.
Well, you know, in my mind, that's probably the best way to go. I'd hate to see that developed until I knew that there was going to be, until somebody from IDEM or EPA or someone
Sign
could
off on it.
personally tell me that it was safe enough to do whatever we wanted to do with it.
Yeah, so similar in this case, like we have done in the past, what it would be is it would come to, so there is state law that says basically you have, in essence, hear it. You can say no, you can say yes, or you can send it back. So if you wanted to change it to open space, you could send it back to Plan Commission saying to change it to open space, and then they'll hear that and send a recommendation back, yes or no to that
Just like
request.
the last one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should send it back to them and just say that you don't do anything with it until we know that the state.
So if you don't do anything, it automatically gets approved through that's how planning is done.
Because you've already approved it?
Because it's already had the public hearing. How the state law says is basically if it goes through this process, then the council doesn't say yes, no, or revise, it automatically gets approved within 90 days. So what you have to do is you either send it back with a recommendation or you just vote it down no. I mean, you can vote it down no and then it stays industrial.
City owns it anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna sneak in and
Right, so you guys could vote it down and say no. Again, this was one of those, I was looking kind of at the properties and the ideas that have been circulating about the properties such as Melbourne and some of the parks. And so I looked at what was the appropriate zoning instead of what is existing that the city owns. So that's where this came from. So I would bring it to the council meeting and either vote it down or send it back to do open space. You can vote it down and we can always bring it back. I'd have to see if there's any stipulation on the time frame to bring it back. But
Well, there wasn't. Cleanup wouldn't be anytime soon, so.
I don't see it happening soon.
No.
It's been sitting the way it's been for probably at least 6-8 months now. The last time we bartered with the insurance company over cleanup over there, it took, I think, 5 or 6 years to get to where they said yes. So you know, if we can get it cleaned up, then I think it's a discussion worth having, but I would rather be cautious than,
That's fine. I would recommend you take it forward and then vote it down then, or to change it. If you don't do anything, it gets automatically adopted, so you have to do something
So we need to vote it down at the council.
at a council meeting.
Council meeting, so we need to move this forward and then just
Vote it
Vote it
down,
down.
vote it down at the council meeting?
right.
Okay.
good.
And what's the time frame if we voted down? at
You
the
have 90
council meeting?
days.
No,
So-
that's your time frame.
That's the 90 days after the public hearing, the council has to make a decision, their initial decision. So you can either send it back, vote no, or say.
Okay, so if we vote no,
That's automatic, it's done then at
and then
that.
you're gonna wait until it's cleaned up before you bring it back to us again?
Yeah, I can wait
Ask
for
for
it,
zone?
yeah. Yeah, I can wait to bring it back.
Yeah, okay.
So what if we send it back with the recommendation to make it open space and the planning department?
You can do that.
And the planning department says no.
You can still pass it. So even if the planning department says no and it comes back to the board, I'm getting my next thing, sorry. If the planning department says no to your recommendation, it comes back, you can vote it in. They just take it under consideration so that you know what their recommendation is.
I'd like to make it open space for the time being, that way nobody can do anything with it till we know it's cleaned up.
So instead of doing their recommendation of R4, we're just gonna.
Instead of
recommend-
voting R4 down, I say we send it, I would like to see us send it back with a recommendation
Of
to
OS?
create it, make it an open space zone.
Okay, all right. I mean, just so we all agree that we don't want it, we just don't want anything developed on it
Right,
until it's.
right.
Cleaned up.
Yeah.
All right. Any council member questions on that one? So we're sending it back to recommend open space?
You'll have to do it at a public hearing. So you'll still move it forward, and at that public hearing, you'll say to send it back for open
At
space.
the
At the council
council,
meeting,
at the
we'll-
council meeting, we'll,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. We all in agreement with moving this forward to the council meeting?
I was trying to find my summary page. Did you guys get the summary page for the CIP?
Yes,
I can print it out for myself. Is it up here? Is the summary page up here?
I think it's in there somewhere, Robin, I think I sent it to her.
Okay.
Do you know about where it would be in the, is it at the front, the back?
See. I printed everything but that, I guess. Well, I can just run through it. But you have a summary page. Basically, the summary page shows the differences. I can just run through what each department was doing, and some of the changes. So, like Mount Hope Cemetery, what they changed, and I think it went up, was Memorial Day stage. So they made some additional requests for that, but their mower and their paving is something they've always asked for. Street Department, they added on their 50/50 programs and their ADA programs. And then they added in the reseal and painting of the parking lots for the new 2 parking lots in downtown. They didn't, I added it to theirs, but to reseal those in downtown. So those are the big changes in the Street Department. The Fire Department, one of the biggest changes was the training facility, and then the South Side Fire Station. They had previously talked about it East End, but we're looking into the South Side now, so that had gone up. The Police Department, a lot of these are newer. The squad cars they added back in. Police station payments was one of the biggest changes that made the biggest impact to the overall cost. And then they had some pistols and radars and stuff like that that were smaller costs. Dykeman Golf Course, they had some vehicle replacements and mini excavator and small front loader that were new, but the other ones are basically the old operations. And then the Parks Department did have quite a few changes, but that's based off their 5-year master plan. They have different changes that were brought up regarding roads, parking, seal coating as well, fencing around the parks.
Can I interrupt you really fast? Did you email this?
Yes.
Yeah, not the summary sheet. She's telling you now, as you go through this, she's just,
I'm just going
I
through.
didn't, but I don't have an email from you. I'm confused. Like these things I haven't.
yeah,
None of
this
those
was,
things?
this was a
52
53-page email from her that added all of
Did I
the
not
stuff.
Or
to-
after Dave's email.
After.
I didn't get this.
I'm not sure they ever were emailed to you guys.
Okay.
I know that we got them.
I copied
Yeah, I know you sent
from
them.
Scott's. Did you get Scott's email?
Scott didn't send one out.
No, Scott sent out an email saying, I can't be there, we're gonna have a meeting. And from that, I used that one to send out all my stuff.
Yeah, but he said there was an attachment to it, and I sent
he
him an
didn't
email
attach
right
it.
away. There was no attachment to it. And then she sent an email in response to Scott's.
Okay,
Right.
that's-
So
that was like
that's-
a different
Yeah.
email address, so I didn't check that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was from Scott's email. I just,
Okay.
I replied all.
Like, I read everything, but I haven't seen this. Okay, sorry.
She just added on at the
Right.
end of his.
Yeah, I just replied all on his. Yeah.
That's right.
So I didn't check people's email because I
That's
just
fine.
replied all, sorry.
Well, that's why we don't understand what's going on.
What is all this she's talking about? So then, like I said, there's a lot of changes just based off the 5-year master plan. So that did include some additional increases there. IT did take off a few things like their office repair and stuff like that, but added on the city ordinance update to Muni codes because it hasn't been updated since 2014. And so that's something, we're not sure exactly the cost, but something that we added because we know that's important and needs to be done. Code enforcement hadn't provided anything in the past couple of years, and so this year with moving into the police department, they want to, I think they have their software, but they have to pay it yearly, and then a new vehicle and tablet for the vehicle. So expenses overall, basically we're at $15,182,476, and expenses from the general fund, so a lot of those we've talked about before, where street is from the MVH, fire, police is from lit, non-reverting golf course, parks from general, ITs from cumulative capital, and then code enforcement from lit. So cemetery and parks are really the ones that come out of general fund, which is $5,256,000. And then if you got the summary, which I'll resend the summary if you guys didn't get it, it says the difference between last year and this year. So I apologize if that didn't get sent out. I went over that really quick because it's like 30 pages, but is there anything specific you guys had on that?
And these are just our guidelines to work
Right.
with for the budget season. If we vote yes on the CIP, that doesn't mean everything in the CIP ends up in the budget.
Yeah, so just a little bit of, because I know a lot of you are new. So the CIP is Capital Improvement Program, but what it does is it just helps you in knowing what's to come. So just because you know that maybe the fire station needs rebuilt doesn't mean that that's high priority for expenses, so you don't put it in the budget. So each department, what they typically do, will look at their CIP, and sometimes by themselves or by guidance, will add it to their budget. And then at budget time, you can go through and say, what's really your highest priority for this next year? Because there's no way we can give you $5 million, right? So it's just kind of a guideline to know that what expenses are coming in the next 5 years.
So how is it your job to put this together for all of these departments?
You're actually the first one in the city that's ever asked me that. So it's actually adopted under your comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan is in my department. So that's why we do that.
So each department is supposed to create their own CIP, and if they don't, you're just bothering them to create one?
So the capital improvement program goes under your comprehensive plan for your goals and visions for your community. And
I know what it is.
Yeah, but
Just asking why it's your responsibility and.
I don't know, because I've always put it together for 19 years.
Actually, they do it through committee.
Yeah.
Scott was on that committee.
Yeah, it's through the Plan Commission. There's a state law that says that if you do one, you may do one, and if you do, it's with the comprehensive plan. And if the comprehensive plan is under the planning department, I guess they've always assumed that that should be the planning department's responsibility to do.
Okay, so the CIP that I read before I came into office for all of the departments,
That's
then,
through our office.
right, but so now this is what they're saying they're gonna ask for in the 2025 year?
Yeah, so every year we do one to update.
Right, but when does it take effect? Do they want the
Budget.
stuff
They
right
don't,
now?
they don't take effect. It's just a plan in place to review. So only if you add it to the budget does it take effect.
It's their Christmas wish list.
Yeah, and then you pick out of there what you're willing to add to their budget. But then you know where those department heads are thinking their department needs and where they need to go and what things are gonna come up in the future.
Okay, and so I really want to see the summary where you show me
The difference
what the
between.
CIP was last year that I read and the one that I'm reading right
Yeah,
now.
I will send that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions on the CIP program? Okay with moving this forward to council?
Yep.
All right, any other questions in regards to planning and economic development? Seeing none, I will close the meeting at 7:01.
You're next. My next.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
next.
you must
I'm
be.
next.
You
Okay,
must be.
here she goes. So I'd like to call the Parks Committee meeting. We're going to start at 7:02. And the first thing that we're going to consider is the Parks Board Resolution 2024-05, a resolution of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board regarding the need for a clubhouse manager.
So, before I'm going to let Dean talk, he's been doing clubhouse managing and the course management for the last 19 years. And I think when we consolidated, or we went to not having a pro that did all the stuff at the clubhouse, I thought at some point we would eventually help to, try to get some extra help. Well, it's been 19 years, and we really need to do this. It's overload, he's been doing far and away 70 to 90 hours when it's going on like it is now, those kind of hours every week or every pay period. No, that's every week. Is that every week? Okay. And it's not what anybody wanted, and it's not fair to Dean to have to do all that. So our solution is to find somebody to actually manage the clubhouse and all the operations that go on there, getting the golf carts out, taking care of people, checking them in, taking care of the
Helping run outings
concessions.
and tournaments. Because like right now, if we have a tournament or an outing, I mean, it's basically, I can't take the day off, so it makes it tough. Like Dan said, it's 19 years, and when I did it, it's kind of more of a temporary thing. Most golf courses have like a general manager, a pro/clubhouse manager, superintendent, and assistants on both ends. Any golf course worth a darn, which we are a golf course that falls in that category. We're very nice, and obviously I take pride in it, but I work all weekend, like in the clubhouse, and then on the weekdays, I'm back to being the superintendent and being out on the course the whole day. So this has been our plan for a little bit. We've talked about once we got a new clubhouse that I was not going to be able to do, everything like I had been, and we've gotten busier too. So when we had a guy retire, or a couple guys retire last year, we only replaced one of them with the whole intention of still having the same amount of full-time positions, just, kind of starting next year was our original thought, but the time's now, we have the money, we have, we're only using 3 of the insurance or the full-time positions
Full-time positions, yeah.
this year, so
Yep.
It's just, came along a little quicker than, we both thought, but
Yeah.
still not quick enough.
So, we'd like to get this going for July 1st if possible. That's kind of our goal. So, and we were looking at we would have enough funds in our full-time wages to go ahead and do a salaried position between 40 and 50,000 per year. We also want to kind of keep that wage rate at equal to the other salaried person besides Dean, who is our assistant superintendent, who helps with the actual course, and he's getting 46,000 per year salary, and so we're looking for this position to
And
be
it's-
46 as well.
Yeah, and it's a little higher, I believe, that top-end pay, I think, is a little higher than,
Okay,
But
Well-
you already have the money in your budget to cover this cost.
correct.
yes, we do.
Yeah, because we did not replace a full-time position, and now we are spending more money on, part-time help when we can find part-time help, and we're spending more, money, just on wages in general, just like everybody is. I mean, what you used to get for, a $10 summer kid, you're having trouble getting that $10 an hour. So we're spending more money there, but we still, in my full-time line items, I was looking at somewhere around $46,000 left. Some of that will get moved into the part-time money range, but there's plenty of it in there this year.
Okay. Is everybody in agreement with moving this to the council meeting, the first council meeting in June?
What do you do there?
Got to run this.
What do I do?
Finance.
I'm the pro superintendent, cart boy.
And who's under you?
What's that?
She said you had a second person under you?
Yes, John Clark. He's my assistant superintendent. He's their assistant maintenance.
He did, yeah.
And
he
we
helps
only
us.
have, and he helps, he assists.
He focuses on irrigation and equipment and scheduling people out on the course and
Just,
getting the
there's,
mowing done.
we have 110 acres. There's, today I sprayed, tomorrow I'm putting down fertilizer, there's-
Dean is the one who is certified to use different chemicals.
I went to college back 30 years ago in horticulture and got a turf grass management degree. And not only am I am a turf grass expert, whatever you want to say, I'm also a PGA pro. So, I am certified in every part of the golf course business. I'm a Class A GCSA member and a Class A PGA pro. And there's probably a dozen of us in the country that are both that, and you have one here. So, but, this is my hometown, and it's where I've been for 30 years, and I love it now. So,
Are there any other questions? So I misspoke. We need to move this on to the finance meeting. So are you okay with moving it to
Yep.
finance? Yep. BJ, you all right with moving it to finance?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So the next, next we're gonna cover the City of Logan Sports RFP, and this is the development, design, construction, initial operation, and transfer of a new clubhouse at Dykeman Park Golf Course through a public-private partnership agreement. And so this is the RFP that they have put together. It came with your packet, with your information for tonight's meeting, and so if you'd like to.
Well, so this is the first step, and we have the funds all committed from our donors, and so this is the first step in being able to secure, or they use the word procure, the actual developer, whoever that's going to be. And so that's what the RFP is all about, and just to see who's interested and who wants to help us get this done. So that's what we need to get this going. Our timeline is to get the construction sometime mid-October at the latest, maybe a little after that if we have to, but we've been told that it takes 10 to 12 weeks for a company to actually, once they've been awarded the grant, it'll take that much time for them to gear up and get their supplies and materials and then and get it into their schedule as well. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get this going. My goal was to get this off before the end of the actual RFP out into the public realm before the end of this week. If you guys didn't have an issue with it, it's an RFP. It's an exploration. It's not something you necessarily have to approve, but I do need you to approve the process, that this is what we're starting out doing and get this going like this, so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we don't have to approve this, we don't have
I
to
don't
move it to
think.
council. Dave, is that correct? We don't have to move it to council, we just need to approve the RFP for the next step in getting it publicized to, is that correct?
Bill, sure. I don't know whether we should just write a resolution saying we're in support of you moving forward with the RFP, or you can just move forward. Kelly, what's your thoughts on this?
I don't know, I haven't been in the loop on that for a while. John, the guy that was doing the legal stuff, changed law firms and then,
He's no longer doing this, he's no longer doing it. Lisa Lee is the person that's in charge of it now from Ice Miller, so we didn't have to change contracts then, so.
okay, and so I didn't even talk to that attorney, so that, because that would have been a concern on how that was gonna be processed, and I mean, I'm not in a position to give you an answer right now, that's what I'm saying.
Is there any way that you can, we could move this forward to the council meeting, pending Kelly having a conversation possibly in the next week and a half with, who's the new gal that's in charge?
Lisa Lee is her name.
Yeah, and she's at the same firm that Tom
Yeah,
is at.
Ice Miller, yep.
Would
So
that
you
be
could-
something that you could arrange with Kelly to maybe talk with her
And then ask her if we need to even have it heard at council, and if we do, then we could have a resolution that just says that we approve this, is that correct, Dave?
because it seems like when we did the police station, we did a resolution approving the RFP. The RFP went out, we got offers, the scoping offers, and then we accepted the scoping offer, which was basically a commitment to that company to move forward with the process. And that's kind of what I was asking you on the phone, Jan, is I didn't know whether we have to do that or not, but we don't want to get ourselves in trouble either. Is it possible to set up a conversation, you think?
Yes, absolutely, yep.
Are
You know,
you
we,
available to do that?
When are we talking about?
For you to speak to Lisa
Council
Lee
If we can get,
Oh, okay.
before the next council meeting?
I would say there's a reasonable prospect. Don't try.
Okay.
I haven't seen this packet that you got here either, that's.
So you haven't seen, because this has specialized financing issues in it, right, Dave, that need to be
well, this isn't the financing,
no, this is just to
No.
get the process
this is
started.
just to get the process going.
right?
So you're not committing any finances at this point, although you've already committed the 200,000 a year.
Right,
So,
There was some discussion that it was gonna be set up to ask for proposals on the design of the facility and how that was gonna be built, and then you would put out another request for bids on that, or is this an RFP?
no, this is the BOT, which means that they have whoever we hire, or whoever we choose as the company to be the developer, they are the ones that do the design and the construction as well. So they do both. And that's one of the reasons, if you look through it, there's a whole list of things that we want to see done.
You don't have a design already, what you want done?
we have a concept, but we don't have the actual design done. And that's what, I think that's part of what's got to be done by the developer.
So those are options, I mean, as to how you approach that. Because there'd been a discussion, that's, in talking to John on that, there was a discussion, is it better to get your building design, because it's changed because of the building is down at the park being built, so that you don't need all the activity
Right.
space.
And that was part of what we took that kind of work out of the mix. So it's not in there, but we do want like an outdoor patio for gathering instead of an indoor banquet room.
It says that in here. So can you get this to Kelly tomorrow?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you can, if she emails this to you, and then you talk to Lisa Lee and let them, do you prefer to call Lisa Lee and set up a time yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'll need to talk to her, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay,
On every time.
So will you
Okay.
do that email tomorrow?
yeah.
So I still think we should move this forward to the council meeting until we see what happens, right?
Move it forward pending Kelly's conversations and
Okay. All right, and Jan, you'll get this to him tomorrow.
Okay, yep.
Just received a special delivery of the pack that I gave.
There we go.
I'd be happy to give you this one
no.
right now, but
So,
I'd
but you
be
still
glad to
need to
send
give
you
him Lisa Lee's contact information tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move that to council, for the next meeting. Okay, the next, thing on our committee agenda is, this is, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing matching funds for the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, which is, ATIIP grant. Would you like to go forward with that, Jane?
Yeah, and so I said something to you this last month's finance meeting, and I thought we were gonna need, I don't know, I couldn't remember how much, like we were talking about 20,000 or something. We're at 38,000 now, but the county council has already done a first reading of this same ordinance, and they have approved that in their first reading. The idea is to connect Logansport to France Park and the Panhandle Pathway, the Panhandle Pathway. We don't have any kind of plans or engineering or decisions about what places, can and can't be used, and that's what this will do. And that's what the grant is for. It's a planning grant. It is not the actual construction. It's a totally planning grant, and we've worked at, the numbers that we've received is that the total grant is $380,000 is what we're asking for. And so we would do 10% of that 380,000, and the county will do 10%. So, and that will cover the match that we have to provide for that. This is still, it's a grant application. It is not the actual dollars, right? We're not committing the actual dollars right now, but we're saying that if we are to receive this grant, this is when we want to see this happen, and we're willing to spend $38,000 of the city's money to get this done.
Part of the application for the grant is something saying that you have the funds to do your.
It's it's what we've done with Land and Water
What's the
and
due date on this?
So that was what I was gonna bring up. It's June
17th,
17th.
yeah.
And so what I asked county council was, if they would be willing to write a letter after their first reading, even though their second reading would be after the deadline, still letting us, submit and writing a letter. And then if we get it and they decide to knock it down on second reading, then obviously we would just not
withdraw
accept
it,
the grant.
yeah.
When would we know about the grant?
Do you remember when it
I
was?
don't have any idea if it says that. Here's the,
I just have the deadline. I don't remember what it said on
No, it doesn't
It's
really.
usually July or August. I mean, it's usually.
I would say
couple
probably
months.
60 days
Yeah.
easily,
It's
60
usually
to
a
90
couple
days. So it's a pretty competitive grant, so it's important that we, you know,
And by doing the planning and design grant, it opens you up to the construction grant money. If you don't have that, you're not eligible. And like she said, the commissioners approved to apply for the grant, and then county council did their first reading and approved the 38,000 for their 10%.
So does everyone understand that this is for the design of a trail that goes to France Park? And this is just, the purpose of this money is to just get design work done and to have people tell us the best way to do it. And so the county has already committed $38,000, and they're asking us to commit $38,000 from the city, which makes sense. We'll be using
But
it.
this is basically like an overview of
Yeah,
all
so
of it,
there's-
it's not the actual.
It's not the full
work.
design, they'll do a design concept, typically that's like a 30%, just to kind of get you an idea of how much right of way you're gonna need to buy, or how much area the trail's gonna have to skinny up in certain areas, are you gonna have to do a bridge, those type of things. So in their estimates, they have, and I think I provided that to you, kind of the budget, project management, obviously, meeting coordinations, grant administration, bridge study, concept design, public engagement, detail routing and LiDAR, alternative routing plan, railroad utility coordination, research and mapping, permitting, assessment, implementation grants and how we can get funding, draft, final report, those type of things.
She's
So-
reading from the summary list that tells you how much each thing will cost.
It's outrageous.
That's how.
Well, it is, BJ, but you and I can't do it, so we'll have to.
it's 4 miles out to France Park. 4 miles of private, public land. It's not going to be an easy thing to figure out. And so if we're going to do it, and really this is the next trail leg we really need to do for our community.
And one of the things that I point out is that in this plan, designing and having that location doesn't mean that you have to go for the infrastructure portion of it in the next year or 5 years. What it does is provide you a plan with some information so that you can do that next step whenever that next step is. You know, maybe it's the county portion at first, or maybe it's the city portion at first, but at least you have a whole plan of how that connects up.
That was kind of my question. This opens it up to numerous opportunities for grants, not just
Right.
infrastructure, because is this all part of the overall infrastructure?
Yeah, the bill that
So it's
they
gonna
did
end in
last
so
year
many
where they
years.
added so much money towards different projects, this is one of those.
But this is also, isn't this part of like the state map trail system?
It is, so this
portion?
section is part of the major moves plan.
So it would-
So that opens us up, it's a big connector for the major moves, which, next level trails, if that continues on, it could be, used in this as well because of that.
And is Wynn still working on all this along
So
here?
they provided money to the Panhandle to connect up to France Park. So France Park, or not France Park, but the Panhandle is still working on that connection. They're trying to get away from the bridge, maintaining it, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still finding out what is the best case scenario for that, but they got money from Wynn and Next Level to make that connection. And then this connection is also on the major move for the state. And again, this also opens us up to the funding through the active transportation infrastructure, which wouldn't be available to us without the plan either.
The Panhandle Pathway connects to the American Discovery Trail too, which also just goes clear across the country. And so that makes us in a good location to be funded, or to be awarded grants, because we're so close, and it helps us connect to, other areas and getting people to the American Discovery Trail, or from here to there or there to here, either way, so.
Lafayette also has kind of a looping system, what they're trying to create with the American Discovery Trail, where you can do kind of a loop through the Lafayette, our region, and over to Kokomo and kind of get back around. Because people that are doing these routes usually like to start in a place and end up back in those places. But with that, this is actually, this connection, not the layout of it, but the connection is actually part of the wind master plan for the region as well.
Does anyone have any further questions? Dave, do I move this to finance also?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is if we all approve to move this to the finance committee. What do you say, Chris?
Yep.
BJ?
Not really crazy about it. I see the Panhandle Trail 4 or 5 times a week and there's no one on it.
We can provide you with, they do a survey every year, and so they have, and they do a count for a weekend, I think they do, that provide you with information of how many people they have calculated on the trail, if you want that information.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I was on the trails here in Logansport just today, and every time we turn around, somebody else was, I had a group of kids from Fairview Elementary that I was taking around, and every time we turned around, the kids had to move back because there was somebody coming through. I mean, it was a regular thing. So people are using trails. If they had more trails, they'll be using them. So, and you know, that trail is a popular trail. I use it on the weekends. I don't use it on the weekdays so much, but on the weekends I do. So it's an important trail.
And I think it's important, BJ, to consider, I know, I don't go to France Park, but I know that France Park is a busy place, and a lot of people go there all summer. And there are people from Logansport that camp out there all summer. And so if we think about being able to connect our own people that are staying at France Park and enjoying that in another way to get there without driving a car, or even if they drive a car there, then they get on a bike and they ride to town and they have dinner at Bonus Pints. I don't know. It's just, we're giving people an opportunity to be outside and to exercise. And it is very expensive to do this. You're not incorrect about that. But it's something that, it's a great opportunity. And, you know, when you look at the total amount of money of $380,000 and they're asking us for 10% of that, I think we should do it for our constituents. That's what I think.
And we also have a 100% grant participation on all our trails. Everything, all our trails in Logansport, we've gotten grants for in some way, shape, or form. Houston Park had 2 grants for land and water, you know, to build that park and the trails there. River Bluff Trail had the Recreational Trails Program grant that they built that one on. Little Turtle Waterway initially was the Hometown Indiana, and the transportation enhancements, and so is the bridge and the Eel River Run, that was transportation enhancements, and the rest of Little Turtle going up to 18th Street was recreational trails program. You know, the city's done their part, there's no doubt about it, but we've done a lot of grant writing to get those trails here. And I think that we can be very proud of that. So you're not going to pay for all of it, BJ. It's going to be a grant process as well.
Right. Haley? Yes. Dave?
Yep.
Okay. That takes care of all of our business for the Parks Board Committee meeting, and our meeting's coming down at 7:29. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Are we back up again?
You're back up, Jan.
I was gonna say, you're gonna be right back up.
We've already discussed the position of golf course manager. The big thing is to basically discuss how we're going to finance that. You know, Dean pretty well explained it. Dean and Jan both pretty well explained it too. They had George Elpers, who'd been at the golf course, I think, since its inception. We're pretty close to it. George was out there how many years, Dean?
30-some, 35.
And he retired, and he has not been replaced. So his position had been left open. So they're asking to replace his position as a maintenance guy with this manager's position. in their resolution, they were requesting 40 to 50,000 for the job as the salary range. And in talking with Jan, she said that they had hoped to start Kyle out at $46,000 a year salary. Is that correct, Jan? So basically, they would need 23,000 for the rest of this year to fund that, and they have more than enough money to do that. All that we'd have to do is adjust the salary ordinance to reflect that. We would just change the title from maintenance to golf course manager and adjust the salary to reflect that from a, George was.
Clubhouse manager.
Clubhouse manager, but George was an hourly. The new position would be a salary position. And along with that, we'd have to, and this is a little bit off topic, but we had another issue where we realized the other mechanic, I believe, is that the title of the other fellow?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
His salary,
Yeah, go ahead. Rick.
Well, when we were, in our discussion, you saying that he actually does the mechanic work, so he is technically the mechanic.
so he will be,
So he's actually,
He could be under the
he's under
mechanic.
this 2231 in the salary ordinance. Matt is, yeah.
I mean, to make it more simple, I guess.
all right. So you're saying he would be under the mechanic's title, you wouldn't no longer have a maintenance title then? Under the salary
Yeah,
ordinance,
I
you
guess
have
that-
maintenance.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. And that would work out just fine doing that. We would adjust. Matt would be considered your mechanic. In our discussion, did we have him down as the maintenance person originally, Jan?
Yes, probably, or, and,
Seemed-
you know, with this position, you know, I'm moving more out onto the course now, or
Right.
spending less time in the clubhouse. And, you know, I don't know about more time on the course, but, you know, more concentrated effort, you know.
But I think I sent you the salary ordinance. So basically, we'd be making the adjustments in the mechanic position and the maintenance position to reflect the two salaries of those two employees. And there's more than enough money in the budget to do that. It's not going to cost anything to make the adjustment for
So
this year.
are you're gonna make the adjustments to the salary ordinance, or are we gonna have Tyler do that?
No, well, it has to go through an ordinance to get it changed.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'll just do it. I'll just change it and have him write the ordinance.
okay.
So do you put the full amount for the year
The top end pay,
for the top end pay?
or the range, and the salary order, you put the range.
Yeah, the salary ordinance would have the range. You're asking it to be 40 to 50.
Okay,
That's what will reflect in there.
okay, okay.
And then he'll be making 46, you said. So, you know, he'll fit right into the range that you're asking for. And we'll just eliminate the hourly rate for the maintenance position, and Matt will be considered your mechanic. The only concern I had when I talked to Jan was, you know, are you going to have enough people to keep your equipment up?
Well, that's, you know,
And that's the biggest concern I have.
it's a concern of mine every day, you know. I mean, just having enough people to get weed eaten, and,
I got
you
you.
know,
I
it's
get it.
very hard to get people to work these days.
But I think that it'll work out real well for you guys, the way you're setting it up.
We hope so. I mean, that's kind of the plan, and we needed to make an adjustment.
So is everyone okay with the salary ordinance being adjusted?
It says here you got it from 30 to 48.5 on the paper you sent me.
That's what he's gonna change.
Yeah,
Where are you looking at?
He's looking at the golf course assistant manager.
yeah.
On the line where you were at $46,000, it shows it's right in the range.
Yeah, the top range for that assistant manager is,
That's the golf course assistant manager. This is the clubhouse manager, BJ. It's not on there.
Oh, So we're making, okay.
That's what we're
That number
amending.
that's penciled in is what that guy's currently making. The one on the left is what he currently makes.
Okay.
It's not a top pay. All right, so we'll move that forward and get that adjustment made, get the ordinance in place. Hopefully, and get somebody hired by the 1st of July. Since you're already up here, Jan, I am going to jump around. We'll just do the trail connection.
Anything else?
I don't know why I've got train there, but it's supposed to be trail.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dean.
See you, Dean.
Again, I think, I got did you write that ordinance that you sent us, Aaron, on the?
Aaron did.
Yeah. I was just gonna, for the time being, say any appropriate fund, and then we could decide later on exactly what fund we wanted to use. If you look at I think I sent you guys the ordinance, it says seeded funds. We just make it anything available and take a good look at it and decide what fund to use.
Okay.
And we're okay with moving that forward then?
Just say unspecified.
And we don't need to do that until you know yea or nay on just pass it that we would, okay. All right. Flagpole maintenance at the Memorial Home. Susie brought in the quote for that. Greg had his guys take the flagpole down. We're hoping to have the flagpole back up this Friday. The maximum cost of this is going to be $800. He says he doesn't think it's going to be that amount, but that was just to make sure he had everything covered on that. That comes out of, that would come out of the miscellaneous fund that's already in place for the Memorial Home. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that?
So it could be less?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought
Yeah,
that
he
seemed a little
talks
high,
like
but-
it would be, so. When he originally talked that number, he was thinking he was gonna have to have a lift or a
Yeah,
ladder.
he's gonna
or-
have to get a lift or something to get up, and then, so he wanted, and he was trying to think of the best way to do it. He honestly, we tried 3 options, and none of them worked, and then, Dave just asked the utilities company about it, and they said they could just take it down, and they did, and we just put it up on sawhorses, and he's just been able to do the work from there, yeah. So it's not gonna cost as much money.
So that's, is everybody okay with moving that forward?
Yes.
All right, we'll move that forward. All right, roof bids for the Memorial Home. Hopefully you guys got a chance to look at those.
I did.
As you can see, there's a wide variety on the 2 bids that we did receive. And as I wrote in the notes that I sent to you guys, I had former Brown Construction owner, John Brown, take a look at them. He went through them. He said there was only one distinction between the 2, and that was on some guttering around the porch. He didn't feel like that would be anywhere near the difference in the amount. He felt like either company had bid the same work, but the bids were, I think, $134,000, and the other one was $269,000. But he felt like a lot of the money overage in the AAA was for the fact that they were going to put scaffolding all the way around the building, and they said if we wanted to save $50,000, we could order the scaffolding ourselves. John seemed to feel like they've probably got a number higher than that in their bid since they were going to handle it, which jacked their bid up some, but there's quite a bit of difference. Both companies came and went on the roof, looked at it. AAA took core samples of the 2 porches to see what was on the porches underneath the roofing, and then JT Contracting did a core sample on the Memorial Home part, the flat part, and they shared information with each other on what was on those roofs. So they both had had a clear vision of what they were looking at as far as what was on the roof to be taken off and replaced and whatnot. So at this time, I guess what I wanted to do was ask Kelly to take a good look at the two bids, and if he felt comfortable with moving ahead with JT Contracting's bid, then I would ask him to come in and he could bring his, verify his business stuff that he needs to and his liability, and we could create some kind of a contract with him in the
I
next
know
week or
nothing
two.
about roofing except I want to stay off of them and
Well, I mean more from the part we added about liability and being E-verified and that as far as hiring them to
the insurance, that
yeah.
part, yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. I'll see if I can.
Oh.
Okay. So I'd like to move that forward pending him meeting the requirements for liability and being on the E-verified list so that, we're in compliance with our own rules on that. Is there any questions on that or concerns? His bid was 134. I was hoping that we could consider possibly a resolution that would say we would spend up to no more than 150 in case he did find something up there that he didn't plan on. We wouldn't have to come back and say we need $4,000 more or.
Makes sense.
And we have that in
Yes.
the Memorial Home.
Yeah,
line
didn't we
item.
already say $150,000? Is that correct?
Not to exceed 150,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how much do we have in that line item?
About 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. There's no way they're gonna do that and not run into a problem.
Everybody okay with moving that forward? Any questions on the roof or?
No.
Okay, I'm not sure why the fire department isn't here. They wanted to create a grant fund. They got a grant, and I believe some of us, I think, when we went down to the fire station with some of the high school kids, they were installing an exhaust system that would keep the carbon, I don't know, all the different bad things out of the building, carbon dioxide, whatnot. And they got a $120,000 grant where their match was $5,714. They're now ready to, they have to create a fund now to pay their bills. It's pretty much done, and they don't have a fund set up. So Ross gave me the numbers for the fund to be 457. If we ever get on the 4-digit one, it would become 4503. And that has to be written up in an ordinance. I guess the money would be put into there and then paid out to the company. And I think they have the bills already, so,
Are you talking about the grant money?
yeah.
Okay.
Plus, they evidently have some funding of some kind for the other 5,700. They're not asking for money, but I don't know where they're getting their local match either. Ross didn't know anything about this till the guy said, hey, we're ready to send the bills to you. And
I didn't know anything.
he didn't have any information on it. So anyway, the good news is they're getting us all done for basically $5,000.
And they have the money, they have the money. We just need an ordinance that,
We're just creating a fund for the money to flow through.
okay.
Just an extra line on the budget, right?
Yep. So everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Air and pocket parks.
I just wanted to see how many meetings I could hit today.
So, usually I have extra money in my fund, and sorry, at the beginning of the year. I forgot, paperwork got lost, I don't know what happened. I thought I encumbered money, I didn't actually encumber money. And that was $8,000 out of my budget that I had to pay that I didn't have. So that was, the thought of the State Theater Pocket Park was to use the money I thought I was gonna have, but then had to pay a last year bill. That was the $6,000, because I had already bought some landscaping for that park. This is labor and a few more pieces of landscaping. A lot of them are dying, and trying to replace them looks kind of weird. And a lot of the dirt has come out of that pocket park at the State Theater where the big statue is. And then, in addition to that, while I said, hey, go look at downtown, tell me what we're needing to do, they came up with a list of trees. I usually use Spring Creek and then Craig Renneman. And they gave me a list of trees that are either having diseases, dying, never took, those type of things. So that was what the additional 2750 is. I don't know what questions you may have for me, but so typically I pull a lot of the landscaping out of my budget and it's in my line item, but I was just short 8,000 because I didn't encumber, I guess, from last year. Somewhere it got lost in translation, so.
So you need $8,827.50 to cover these upgrades or?
Yeah, so the State Theater to upgrade that whole pocket park from China Lane all the way to 4th Street, and then the trees that are dying in downtown to replace them.
Can I ask a couple questions? I saw Craig's message to you, you know, from last fall, and a couple of the trees I noticed, he said died from being beaten with weed eaters.
Yeah.
So I guess one of my questions is there no way that we could buy something to
So he's going to
protect
put
these
the
trees?
garter on this time, he said.
Do we do that with all of the trees that we plant?
No, it's because it was done when they were first planted. So they were just, like, they were getting used to, you know, they get, it's kind of traumatic when they first get planted, and at that same time they got weed whacked. So they didn't take. But he's on the new ones going to put those in.
Who did the weed whacking?
Correctionals.
That's what I thought.
So the other question, how do we decide what trees we're going to put, what kind of trees we're going to put where?
So there is, not me. So there's kind of a list of trees that we use. So about 10 years ago, they talked about pear trees, which are now, you cannot add pear trees. That's on the list of trees you can't use. So, but we had another list of trees that we would use. And with that, we understood that they could grow bigger, but that we would have to trim them. And that's where Craig came in to keep up with the trimming in our downtown trees. Plus, we had a lot of different businesses that went and chopped the trees so badly that they died. So that was about 10 years ago that we started that program, I guess I'll call it. And we have Craig and Ryan Passion go out and they look at, is this an area where a tree can grow big and bushy, or is this an area that a tree needs to go more skinny and tall? So they take those things into consideration. So it's not me, it's a landscape architect working with Craig Renneman, who does the trimming. So Spring Creek, he's actually a licensed landscape architect.
I mean, I guess it's because I'm just not a fan of these honey locusts.
The skinny leaves.
Well, they're a very messy tree.
Now, Parks Department likes those because they're small and they go away. The LMU hates them because they're small and they go into there. There's a complaint on each tree, I will tell you, because I have had it back and forth with a lot of different people.
They just, isn't that what you just planted down at the urban park?
Yes, I was asked by
I cried when I
park.
saw that.
I was asked by the Parks Department to use those trees.
No, I have one in my backyard. It's in my backyard because Arbor Day came around and one of my kids brought this little twig home. Well, that little twig's about 50 feet tall now, and it makes the most horrendous mess all year round. It's always dropping something. And I see us planting them around our town, and I just think, why?
I didn't pick them.
I'm just, well,
one of the reasons,
stop.
one of the reasons is they did, oh gosh, this was probably like 16 years ago, they redid 4th Street. And 4th Street, they did the locusts, all the way down. And so with the pocket park, they wanted to continue the locusts into the urban park. I don't pick because
You don't
I don't
have
want
to tell them
to.
my opinion, but it-
I've heard from LU that is a concern, and I've heard from the Parks Department that it's helpful. So it just kind of depends on the tree and then,
Yeah.
anyway. And then the state actually reviews the trees and DNR reviews the trees too. So there's a list that we can pick from. And the list changes every year, it seems like, as well. But about as much as I know about that.
I haven't really looked to see where we might get this money from. Do you guys want to pursue this and fill in the gaps and, like, I'm curious, why did the shrubs die? Just age or?
On
down
the
at-
state.
Down at State Theater?
So they originally so we didn't used to spray or take care of the pocket parks. So they originally got bagworms and different things like that caused problems. Then we tried to replace, we replaced and we had people put them in and they died. And we tried to get the year, like we bought them at Home Depot and had corrections put them in. Well, the soil in that area is so low, it needs to be built up to be able to take back in those plants. So it's been a continual, but now that we have a maintenance every year on those, we're staying up on them a little bit better. But that was one of our first parks that we did, and so kind of lived and learned from it.
Are these parks maintained by the Parks Department?
Are they what?
Are they maintained by the Parks Department? I mean,
No, I have a contract in my office.
and who do you contract with to do that?
Spring Creek, we did an RFP the first year, and Spring Creek was the only one that submitted to maintain them.
Okay.
Or that, well, they were trying to do it with volunteers, weren't they?
Yeah, it was like Green and Clean Day was the only time that anybody was doing that.
Well, this guy's done a lot of landscaping for us, and he knows what he's doing, and he is expensive. I'm not going to say he's not, but it's better to have somebody that you can depend on and get the work done and also be responsible. Like if he would have planted your bushes and then they died,
He replaces them.
yeah, he would replace them, so.
You said a couple of them got killed by weed eaters?
Yeah, so
I'm trying
they,
to figure out where the grass is and whether they're using weed eaters there.
it's for the tree plots on 6th Street. Some of those trees were killed because they weed whacked the ground cover and they got too close to the tree and killed all the bark off of it.
Well, they just weed whacked 4th Street and it'll look like a bad haircut, like they're terrible at it.
I
Yeah.
don't have the ground cover in my contracts. I've been asked that. And I also don't have science project parking lot. Well, I mean, it's ours, but
I
the
thought
one by
the
science.
arrangement was that he was going to take maintain.
Right, that's not on my contract either. So
Yeah.
I've gotten some conversations going about, what about this and this and this, and those are not covered under what I have out there. But anyway.
Well, I don't
Look a
know
lot better than
any
they
trouble
used to.
paying this money if we know where it's coming. You got a place to get money like this?
I haven't looked, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
What I can do is I can look, if you guys want to move this forward, and I can send everybody a couple recommendations, and we can fill in what fund when we get past the resolution, if you'd like.
Yeah,
Maybe
that
Greg
works.
could give us some. Get it from Greg.
I'll let you talk to him about it.
Do what? What'd you say?
Get it from Greg.
When he sells his,
Money. Money from Greg.
From Greg?
That's what BJ said, I didn't say.
Oh, from Greg too. Yeah,
Would everybody be okay with that?
yeah, that sounds fine.
All right, and with that, Aaron, we're done.
Thank you.
7:54, we'll close
I've
it.
only been here since 5.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron. Bill, do you have something you want to do tonight?
Here for the entertainment.
Just hanging out? Okay.
Dave, you were gonna ask.
Oh, yeah, I got one other thing. You want to, come on up,
Then you
Bill.
stay.
Yeah, well, it's been, what, several hours since we talked, so,
I can give you the 30-second on it.
yeah,
We
I'm
do,
sorry.
when you approve abatements over the years, we have to do a yearly compliance. Companies file by May 15th their personal property and real property taxes, tax return. By statute, we have 45 days from the filing, May 15th. We have until June 30th to approve or deny them. So when they got the abatement, they did $1 million piece of equipment, you gave them an abatement, and they guesstimated that they would increase their employment by 3 people and raise wages by X amount. So now they have to prove it. So we get all their forms, and it shows how many people work there, what their wages are, and then I compile all that stuff of these 15 companies, and I give it to you guys. And you can approve them or deny them. So the problem is they're not due until May 15th. We're just now getting them. They're late by most of them. We only have until June 30th. There's no way I can get it to you before June 1st. There's just no way. So what we've done in the past is Dave always has a finance meeting in June. What we do is we typically stack finance committee meeting and then a special meeting right after it. I will have everything to you 10 days before then. So if you meet on June 20th, you'll have everything you've ever want to know about these companies at least 10 days before. If there's anybody that pops out that we think we might deny, we have to do a special hearing to bring them in. So if you think company XYZ failed their compliance, we have to publish it and then bring them in on the 20th to tell them they can get up here and state their case. Sometimes it's an excuse that's pretty good, sometimes it's not. If you don't deny them, then they're all approved, then we go from there. So the question is, if you can meet June 20th as a normal finance meeting, right after we would have a quick special meeting.
So you've only brought one abatement to us so far this year, is that correct?
To this group, yes.
Okay,
So over the years, they come,
Others from years past.
so there's 15 of them?
15, I think it's 15 to 17 abatements off the top of my head, probably 9 companies. So Myers Spring has 3 and Tyson has 3.
And if I remember right, there was one last year that, this was my very first meeting, there was one last year that was, the numbers were off, and I remember you saying, let's give them one more year.
Correct. It was Matthew Warren.
Okay.
I guess, well, I don't think it'll be there. They won't meet, would be my guess.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, over the years, let's say I bring 2 more to you this year. It is compounds, and they're typically 5 to 7 year abatements. They start to roll on top of each other.
Okay, so we're just looking at abatements that have been given over the years.
I'll have to look and
Correct.
see
Plus
what's
the
on
one
the
that we've
agenda
done
that
this
date.
year.
I haven't checked.
So it was approved by the previous council, and now it's up to you to certify if they're in compliance or not. And I lay all that out in the spreadsheet.
It's, yeah, it's easy to
Okay.
look at, and
I don't just show up.
Okay,
Yeah. So,
what you said, I mean, it makes sense.
okay. Sounds good.
That was the 20th, right?
Yeah, and I'll get
That
with
was-
Andy to see what's scheduled already. There may be zoning or planning ahead of it, so depending on that, it'll be 6 or 6:30. I'll let you know as soon as I check with her.
Okay, so, but June 20th will be a finance meeting. And before that, we're gonna get
After that, it'll be a special
abatement
council,
summaries.
yes.
and then a special council meeting after finance.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
That was a lot of stuff.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, we're done.
We're done? So do I sign this and who else signed it?
Tyler.
You-
Robbins. I just want to stick it in the book.
Okay.
I sign it?
Yeah, you're gonna say.